Hey everyone. Well, it's been a hell of a long time since I've actually done anything like this. I did record uh, a chapter like a few weeks ago, and sorry for the brightness behind me, by the way. I did record a chapter like a couple of weeks ago, but it was so full of like noise that it was basically unusable. I couldn't do anything with it. I'm recording this on my phone because I found that my phone records a lot better than my laptop. So if you're hearing any noise in the background, then that's my laptop fan because the phone is resting on my laptop. But hopefully it's not too off-putting. Anyways, we are up to chapter 25, I think. Chapter 25 of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so let's get on with this. I'm gonna try and do this either every day or every week, depends how things go. So, here we go. Chapter 25. There are, of course, many problems connected with life, of which some of the most popular are: why are people born? Why do they die? Why do they want to spend so much of the intervening time wearing digital watches? Many, many millions of years ago, a race of hyper-intelligent pan-dimensional beings, whose physical manifestation in their own pan-dimensional universe is not dissimilar to our own, got so fed up with the constant bickering about the meaning of life, which used to interrupt their favourite pastime of Brocchian ultra cricket, a curious game which involved suddenly hitting people for no readily apparent reason and then running away, that they decided to sit down and solve their problems once and for all. And to this end, they built themselves a stupendous supercomputer, which was so amazingly intelligent that even before its databanks had been connected up, it had started from "I think, therefore I am," and got as far as deducing the existence of rice pudding and income tax before anyone managed to turn it off. It was the size of a small city. Its main console was installed in a specially designed executive office, mounted on an enormous executive desk of finest ultra-mahogany topped with rich ultra-red leather. The dark carpeting was discreetly sumptuous. Exotic pot plants and tastefully engraved prints of the principal computer programmers and their families were deployed liberally about the room, and stately windows looked out upon a tree-lined public square. On the day of the great on-turning, two soberly dressed programmers with briefcases arrived and were shown discreetly into the office. They were aware that this day they would represent their entire race in its greatest moment, but they conducted themselves calmly and quietly as they seated themselves deferentially before the desk, opened their briefcases, and took out their leather-bound notebooks. Their names were Lunquill and Fook. For a few moments they sat in respectful silence. Then, after exchanging a quiet glance with Fook, Lunquill leaned forward and touched a small black panel. The subtlest of hums indicated that the massive computer was now in total active mode. After a pause, it spoke to them in a voice rich, resonant, and deep. It said, "What is this great task for which I, Deep Thought, the second greatest computer in the universe of time and space, have been called into existence?" Lunquill and Fook glanced at each other in surprise. "Your task, O computer," began Fook. "No, wait a minute. This isn't right," said Lunquill, worried. "We distinctly designed this computer to be the greatest one ever, and we're not making do with second best. Deep Thought," he addressed the computer, "are you not, as we designed you to be, the greatest, most powerful computer in all time?" "I describe myself as the second greatest," intoned Deep Thought, "and such I am." Another worried look passed between the two programmers. Lunquill cleared his throat. "There must be some mistake," he said. "Are you not a greater computer than the Myliad Gargantubrain at Maximegalon, which can count all the atoms in a star in a millisecond?" "The Myliad Gargantubrain," said Deep Thought with unconcealed contempt. "A mere abacus. Mention it not." "And are you not," said Fook, leaning anxiously forward, "a greater analyst than the Googleplex Starthinker in the 7th galaxy of light and ingenuity, which can calculate the trajectory of every single dust particle throughout a 5-week Dangrabad beta sand blizzard?" "A 5-week sand blizzard," said Deep Thought haughtily. "You ask this of me, who have contemplated the very vectors of the atoms in the Big Bang itself? Molest me not with this pocket calculator stuff." The two programmers sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Then Lunquill leaned forward again. "But are you not," he said, "a more fiendish disputant than the great hyperlobic omnicognate neutron wrangler of Ciceronicus XII, the magic and indefatigable?" "The great hyperlobic omnicognate neutron wrangler," said Deep Thought, thoroughly rolling the R's. I can't do that, so you just have to imagine it. "Could talk all 4 legs off an Arcturan megadonkey. but only I could persuade it to go for a walk afterwards. Then what, asked Fook, is the problem? There is no problem, said Deep Thought with magnificent ringing tones. I am simply the second greatest computer in the universe of space and time. But the second, insisted Lunquill. Why do you keep saying the second? You're surely not thinking of the multicorticoid perspicutron Titan Muller, are you? Or the Pondomatic, or the contemptuous lights flashed across the computer's console. I spare not a single unit of thought on these cybernetic simpletons, he boomed. I speak of none but the computer that is to come after me. Fook was losing patience. He pushed his notebook aside and muttered, I think this is getting needlessly messianic. You know nothing of future time, pronounced Deep Thought, and yet in my teeming circuitry I can navigate the infinite delta streams of future probability and see that there must one day come a computer whose merest operational parameters I am not worthy to calculate, but which it will be my fate eventually to design. Fook sighed heavily and glanced across at Lunquill. Can we get on and ask the question, he said. Lunquill motioned him to wait. What computer is this of which you speak, he asked. I will speak of it no further in this present time, said Deep Thought. Now, ask what else of me you will that I may function. Speak. They shrugged at each other. Fook composed himself. Oh, Deep Thought computer, he said, the task we have designed you to perform is this. We want you to tell us, he paused, the answer. The answer, said Deep Thought. The answer to what? Life, urged Fook. The universe, said Lunquill. Everything, they said in chorus. Deep Thought paused for a moment's reflection. Tricky, he said finally. But can you do it? Again, a significant pause. Yes, said Deep Thought, I can do it. There is an answer, said Fook with breathless excitement. A simple answer, added Lunquill. Yes, said Deep Thought. Life, the universe, and everything. There is an answer. But, he added, I'll have to think about it. A sudden commotion destroyed the moment. The door flew open and two angry men wearing the coarse faded blue robes and belts of the Crux One University burst into the room, thrusting aside the ineffectual flunkies who tried to bar their way. We demand admission, shouted the younger of the two men, elbowing a pretty young secretary in the throat. Come on, shouted the older one. You can't keep us out. He pushed the junior programmer back through the door. We demand that you can't keep us out, bawled the younger one, though he was now firmly inside the room and though further attempts were being made to stop him. Who are you? Said Lunquill, rising angrily from his seat. What do you want? I am Magic Thighs, announced the older one. And I demand that I am Vroomfondel, shouted the younger one. Magic Thighs turned on Vroomfondel. It's all right, he explained angrily. You don't need to demand that. All right, bawled Vroomfondel, banging on a nearby desk. I am Vroomfondel, and that is not a demand, that is a solid fact. What we demand is solid facts. No, we don't, exclaimed Magic Thighs in irritation. That is precisely what we don't demand. Scarcely pausing for breath, Vroomfondel shouted, We don't demand solid facts. What we demand is a total absence of solid facts. I demand that I may or may not be Vroomfondel. But who the devil are you? Exclaimed an outraged Fook. We, said Magic Thighs, are philosophers. That we may not be, said Vroomfondel, waving a warning finger at the programmers. Yes, we are, insisted Magic Thighs. We are quite definitely here as representatives of the amalgamated union of philosophers, sages, luminaries, and other thinking persons, and we want this machine off, and we want it off now. What's the problem? Said Lunquill. I'll tell you what the problem is, mate, said Magic Thighs. Demarcation, that's the problem. We demand, yelled Vroomfondel, but demarcation may or may not be the problem. You just let the machines get on with the adding up, warned Magic Thighs, and we'll take care of the eternal verities, thank you very much. You want to check your legal position, you do, mate. Under law, the quest for ultimate truth is quite clearly the inalienable prerogative of your working thinkers. Any bloody machine goes and actually finds it, and we're straight out of a job, aren't we? I mean, what's the use of our sitting up half the night arguing that there may or may not be a god if this machine only goes and gives you his bleeding phone number the next morning? That's right, shouted Vroomfondel. We demand rigidly defined areas of doubt and uncertainty. Suddenly a stentorian voice boomed across the room. Might I make an observation at this point? Inquired Deep Thought. We'll go on strike, yelled Vroomfondel. That's right, agreed Magic Thighs. You'll have a national philosopher's strike on your hands. The hum level in the room suddenly increased as several ancillary bass driver units, mounted in sedately carved and varnished cabinet speakers around the room, cut in to give Deep Thought's voice a little more power. All I wanted to say, bellowed the computer, is that my circuits are now irrevocably committed to calculating the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. He paused and satisfied himself that he now had everyone's attention before continuing more quietly. But the program will take me a little while to run. Fook glanced impatiently at his watch. How long? He said. 7.5 million years, said Deep Thought. Lunkwell and Fook blinked at each other. 7.5 million years, they cried in chorus. Yes, declaimed Deep Thought. I did say I said I'd have to think about it, didn't I? And it occurs to me that running a program like this is bound to create an enormous amount of popular publicity for the whole area of philosophy in general. Everyone's going to have their own theories about what answer I'm eventually going to come up with, and who better to capitalise on that media market than you yourselves? So long as you can keep disagreeing with each other violently enough and slagging each other off in the popular press, and so long as you have clever agents, you can keep yourselves on the gravy train for life. How does that sound? The two philosophers gaped at him. Bloody hell, said Magic Thighs. Now that is what I call thinking. Here, Vroomfondel, why do we never think of things like that? Dunno, said Vroomfondel in an awed whisper. Think our brains must be too highly trained, Magic Thighs. So saying, they turned on their heels and walked out of the door and into a lifestyle beyond their wildest dreams. So, there we go. Next one will be either tomorrow or next Thursday. We'll see how things go. But until then, take care. Love and peace.